live stream.
Oh, okay. Do we want to test? Do you want to shut the door? Huh? Asa mo yan doa? Hi virtuals, miss you. What's that? Yeah, I moved the camera just for you. I'm good bang day. Thank you. I really like this sleeve thing. All right, good afternoon, everybody. We're going to get things started. Our live stream is up. Our virtual participants are watching live. And all right, let's move things along. Our Grand Chief, Giacomo Norman Sillaboy, is virtual, so in respect to that, I'm going to ask G. Gepton to give us an opening prayer. Michael R. is saying it's hard to hear in the back. Can we adjust that somehow? Maybe it's the placement of my mic? Better? Okay. All right. I'll hold it like this. Karaoke to Boxia. All right, so Gulnidis and Mike and those presenting, just be mindful to hold the mic up really close. All right, so I'm going to ask you, Gepton, to say the prayer.
Okay. Lord Bamigo, Tangic, Lana, Bisco, and any moody, begin and milking nody, Axel Walker. As David and Malcolm, Lamavia, Amavia Boconoli, and Nungi, Logama Libna, at Liach. Raskana, Garai, also the Mogu, was a moment of silence, I just. Sama or former chief or Blair Francis, Nepcomnach. So, moment of silence, only digging him on a genie. Voilà, Dios.
Julian, it's saying unmute or stay muted. I'm not sure. You have the agenda in front of you. In order of business, we'll do the review of the minutes from last year's AGA. We'll finish it, or we'll start it off with opening remarks. And then the presentation of the MK annual report with some of the MK folks presenting. We have Migma language, academic services, finance, performance measurement, the help desk, post-secondary, sports and rec, treaty education, and then we'll leave some time for questions and discussions. All right, so if I can get the minutes on the screen. I'm curious to know how many steps you'll get, Julian, after at 3 o'clock. All right, so the review of the minutes is here in front of you. Our last meeting was on October 22nd. here at the Delta. We offered it in a hybrid way where chiefs, the board was in one room and the directors of education were in another room, just to maintain our bubbles. And I'm so happy to see our staff, directors, and the board all together here in one room. And those of you virtually, we hope to see you next year. Shara, can you go scroll down? They can't hear me on Zoom.
They need to watch the live stream.
Oh, can you, for those of you on Zoom, can you click the live stream link which is in the chat? It'll ensure that you hear and see us perfectly. Oh, I'm gonna go to. Can I bring the mic here? The camera and the mic here?
The cable isn't very long, but we can bring it closer.
Can I bring this closer?
This is as far as it goes.
We're gonna get closer to the mic. All right. Oh, shoot.
Oh, I had it muted. Do you unmute me?
Can you hear me now? Oh,
The volume is muted.
scary. Sorry, virtuals. Can you hear me now? Better? Okay. Well, I can't hold two things. I can't hold the camera and the microphone. Oh.
If you put it like,
Oh.
just put it like right there, or you need to have it.
I think it needs to
Show a
stay up. No, it's not. I can move it.
Move the table a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Zoom, can you hear me? We're good? It's a lag, hey? I just heard myself laughing. Not cool. Okay, nonetheless, we're going to get back on track as the minutes are being presented on the screen.
That's from last year.
Yeah.
That was from this year. Is that it?
Any questions on the minutes? Any business arising? I'm looking for a motion. Mover? Chief Carroll, seconded by Chief Sid. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. Any abstentions? Any opposition? Motion carried. Thank you for that. All right, so thank you very much again for staying with us through our little tech glitches here. But we're here, and I hope that you can still hear me in the back, and that you can still hear me on Zoom. Oh my God, hot mess Wednesday. Just joking. All right, so I'd like to welcome everybody. Again, so happy that we're all together in one room. So happy to see that everybody can come together again. You know, even though it is still different. We extended the invitation to our partners to join virtually this year. And some of our partners who were invited to attend in person are just unable to due to the rising number of COVID cases in any particular region here in Nova Scotia. But nonetheless, I hope that next year we get bigger and better again. But this is so much better than last year already. I could feel really good energy. I'd like to introduce some of the new staff since our last AGA, and in no particular order, or in the order of the annual report. We have Rebecca Barrington. She's the RPL Research Coordinator working with Anne. And give a little wave, Rebecca. Welcome. Jasmine Collins, who's working with TAX under the Sports for Social Development and Community. Levi Denny, Migma Sport Performance Coordinator. Jeanine Denny, working alongside Jasmine in Sport for Social Development. Hope Metallic, Treaty Education. Marcia Sabatis, working with Angel, Rebecca and Anne under RPL. Jillian Canova, working with the finance team. And thank you. Thank you, everybody. Oh, here we go. Ambra, who is working as the autism consultant. Welcome, Ambra. And I'd also like to welcome transition into her new role, Jeanine Marshall, who is now the Director of Academic Student Services. And last but not least, I think a new member to the Board of Directors, Sherry Pictou, who is the District Chief for CMM, the first woman District Chief in Nova Scotia. So thank you. Lots of new faces and lots of familiar faces. So very happy to welcome you here today as part of the MK family and the Board of Directors. I have a video to play after this, but I just also want to celebrate the successful year that our communities have had, that we've had as MK. You know, in spite of COVID and despite the challenges and the, you know, the adaptations that we've needed to make and adapting into the world, responding to what communities want based on, you know, COVID response plans. It has been a very successful year, and success looks very different in each of your communities, but we've witnessed it, we've continued to witness it, and we're very happy and proud to be part of that story in your community to self-determination. I'd like to thank our flexible partners in education, you know, for understanding our contributions, you know, and how they were proposed and, you know, how they were delivered or how they still continue to be delivered. You know, we thank our partners for being flexible in adapting with us what deliverables look like. I'd like to thank Shara for all of her hard work putting all of these events together, and we have a website to share, our new rebrand. The first introduction to you is the actual annual report and what that rebrand of MK looks like. You'll see the new logo. We've given this about a year and a half of feedback, and we're finally ready to present the website. It's a brand new look, and lots of great updates to come at our future meetings. So thank you to Shara, who has worked very hard on that. Yeah, you can show the website right now. So that's what it looks like. It's beautiful. such an update to our previous website. A lot more pictures, a lot more stories in this. You know, highlighting community, highlighting all of our events, and we have begun the transition in the migration from the old website to the new website, so it's going to continuously be updated. You'll see that MK has branded also art. There's 7 pictures on display at the MK office, and you'll see that throughout all of our rebranding through these arts that represent community, that represent self-determination, that represent our principles in education and our strategic direction. So we're very proud of this, and we can't wait to share more with you, and feel free to visit the website. I'd also like to acknowledge, and I know annual reports are more of a year back and you know, a year at a glance, but some very important steps and milestones currently happening, and the buzz around, you know, what community jurisdiction and what, you know, self-determination truly looks like. And Bakhankek will be opening its school doors, I think if they're not already open, then definitely by Friday. So an amazing kindergarten to grade 3 school, and it's a great start for your community, Anne-Marie, and we're all very proud of you. And then last but not least, I'm going to share the video. Should I put the mic on? So nice. so nice, and you know that video is true. We couldn't have done it without you, and I don't think we could have done it without one another and relying on communities to, you know, brainstorm great ideas on how we can get together and how we can continue to provide the best possible opportunities to our students. So Willalig, love it. That snowbank though, oh, it's coming. All right, so I'm going to invite Michelle to come and do the Mi'kmaq language update, and then just as Michelle is finished, if those in the queue can just come up. Don't forget to hold the mic.
I'm short, I probably will need to. Be right there.
True. Oh, let me grab my stuff here.
Okay, Julian, I have notes on there. They can't see it, but where would I see it?
Your notes?
Yeah. Where'd you over there?
Oh, no.
Oh, no, don't say that.
I know.
Well, I could use my computer just right here.
If you want, it'd be a little bit more confusing now.
Okay, so the first slide is fine, but how do you change the slide?
You use this,
Okay,
and then you push the right arrow.
but it doesn't have my notes on
No,
there.
you'll need your computer.
Okay, I need my computer, Miss Gay. You told me I don't need it.
I didn't know you had notes.
I told you, there's notes. You said that you can't see
I'm
them.
sorry, I didn't hear that.
Okay. I use pictures too. I said, who wants to read all that, right? Okay. Oh, I'm at the conclusion. That's not good. Okay. So here I use pictures, right? We all know that the pandemic, but first of all, I should introduce myself. I don't know if some of you know me, some of you may not. You must have heard about my fridge story all through the thing, because I talked about my fridge for the past an hour, but anyways. So we use pictures, and this is when we started last March. We were here, then we got home, and then we were all under the pandemic. So when I look at the Mi'kmaq language, going out today to move, right? So I said the Mi'kmaq language is the key of how our actions will unfold. Each word is much deeper than only taking care of an object. Animacy brings personal connection, such that action fits actions. So such that action, everything is in the picture. So everything you see in the language is in the picture, and that's why I said I would use pictures. So we are always mindful of that. For example, if I said, Wilmadudnich, if I told Giselle, Wilmade, there's an action to it. So she has to be like, Asha Wilmado, she has to be nice, right? Or if I said, Sespadedamanich, that's something that's been floating around the community because we're worried about our environment. So Sespadedamanich. So it's what we worry about. So there's an action required to that. So I said, that's how we're all connected to language. So I said, you know, when there's some things that we as First Nations people would not do with a person who's not native. And I used the example in young people, because I have teenage sons, and when they come over, it's the young girls that flabbergast me by being really specific of what they're going to do in the washroom. I won't repeat it, but I said, you know, you're going to the next room, or you're going, we all know what you're going to do, right? Whether, and to be honest, it's none of our business, but I find people are so, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't say that I gotta take a, or I gotta, you know, you wouldn't say that. Like my mind would not, because I would have such respect for you that I couldn't do that. Like it wouldn't, my conscience wouldn't let me do that. I couldn't do it. I mean, if I tried. So I said, it's just the little things like that you think of. Oh, gotta turn the clicker, I got too many things going here. So here, I'd like to highlight the red road. So when we couldn't meet for a long time, we became teachers, we became technicians, we became Zoom experts, we swore the Wi-Fi in Escazone up and down till we got the fiber op. That was the big day. It was better than Christmas. Fiber op was the big day. So we all, you know, we were frustrated as parents as our kids were frustrated as much as we were. So we look at, did I change the page? Yeah, no, I didn't. So I looked at the red road and I said, Michael R. has done such a wonderful job in the communities of bringing back our ceremonies and bringing back our culture and teaching us. Not only does he teach students and he teaches communities, he's teaching our team the Migma language, and I truly appreciate that. And he includes us in all that he does so we can share that and we can learn from that. So I said, you know, the cultural Mawiomi that he had here that was live, I thought that was the most awesome thing to have. I mean, we were here, just a very few of us, but it went live all across Nova Scotia. So we had the cultural Mawiomi, and this was a celebration of culture and combining technology, which was live, so we couldn't make sure not to swear or like we make sure that we were here. So this was a way to celebrate our dancing, our singing, and our honoring our traditions. And I thought this was really well done. And you know, I really said to Michael, you know, hats off to you. And at the time, he was going through a lot of things at home, but it's that he was here for his communities, and I thought that was awesome. So I figured that should be highlighted. I asked my team, what would you guys like me to highlight? Nobody sent me anything, so I kind of picked my own things. So if you're wondering why I didn't highlight most of it, you didn't respond to the email. So then we went with Migma virtual classes. This is Beverly's idea, Babalo. She included the team that we all became teachers for the students in the valley. And I thought that was awesome. See, not awful, Babalo, Miss Kate, awesome. I'm reading my notes at the same time. And I'm not a comedian. So Beverly had put together a virtual classroom. You see how I'm ignoring you? Virtual classroom with people from the mainland. This included the Migma language staff. And she had brought an elder, which was Dorothy Denny, and her family is such a role model because all her children and her grandchildren and her great-grandchildren are fluent in the language. What is her secret that we can't do that ourselves? I'm a grandmother, but my grandchildren don't speak the language. Why? I've asked that question over and over again. I have a son who has autism. He's fluent, but he refuses to speak the language. And I ask him, well, Mom, he says, I'm in grade 11, and there's nobody in my class that speaks Migma. So I'm not to. He says, I'm different. I know I'm different. I don't want to be different. So he says, I will not speak Migma. So he says, don't ask me. And I'll tell him, nope, he says. Because he knows he's different, and he doesn't want to be even more different. But then I have another son, I have 5, but I have another son who is so fluent in the Mi'kmaq language that he is teaching in the valley voluntarily. He volunteered to teach because he loves the language, and people listen to him. He says, when I try to teach my friends, they'll tell him, I don't want to learn, it's too hard. So I says to Donovan, if they want the language, give it to them, whoever wants it, because that's how unique we are as Mi'kmaq people, is to sharing of our knowledge and to sharing of our language and just sharing of each other. So I want you to go back to your communities and ask how we can empower these youth to speak the language. What can we do? Because these are the ones that are coming up. I said, so we need to know how do we empower them to speak the language. So Bubbles had a very strong presence in our virtual classroom. And there were all different levels of speakers. So this was a very interactive way of teaching. As you could see, some people had their camera off because of the Wi-Fi in Eskasoni. Oh, I didn't turn it, Miss Katie. So here we go. So here we were teaching at Babalo's virtual classroom. And this classroom was so active, it was supportive, it was very cooperative, and this class was feeling very comfortable, and it was that comfortable feeling that versus a feeling challenged. I sometimes feel like we're feeling challenged, right? But this pace of the class was so enjoyed by all. And I run into Bubbles all the time, and she always says, Dano gap class Mike, abijua, egina mugi, te ud biluega, unnuega di. When am I coming back to have a class again? When are we going to have a class again? I says, well, I know, and that's where I'm thinking about the awful word. I said, I know it's awful that we haven't got back to you, Bubbles, but we will. And Babalo had brought a speaker from each community to teach us what their specialty in the community was. So we got to learn about their stuff that was happening in Bear River, all the stuff that was happening in the Annapolis Valley, their specialties that they taught us here in Unamagi. And I thought that was the most awesome thing. Then another thing, this is Giselle's baby. It's the Migma Junior Apprentice Program. And I had to use a recent picture because I couldn't download. I know you probably heard my story this morning. My computer would not update, so I couldn't put my pictures on my computer, and my phone wouldn't update. But anyway, so I had to use recent pictures. So here we have Brock, who's been in our Migma Junior Apprentice Program. And this is youth teaching youth. So instead of us adults teaching the kids what to learn, it's kids teaching kids. So I said, I didn't go, Julian. I went too far? Oh, here we go. I got to move to the next slide on my computer. Oh, so anyways, this is a type of learning that has been expanded by our youth, by youth teaching each other. This supports the one-on-one learning between the non-native speaker with a fluent one. These are learners who want to strengthen their connection with the language. This helps everyone become more confident in speaking, and this is taught virtually, and they had hundreds of hours to complete. So they had 400 hours to submit to us that they had completed this program. And at the beginning, we had 2 speakers with two non-speakers, youth-wise, but this year we changed it. That'll be my next year's report. We changed it to just one-on-one because we found teaching them in groups was difficult. Some weren't paying attention, some had their whole families included, so it's always distracting to the speaker. So we were just kind of playing with it, but I think, you know, Giselle's doing a wonderful job there as well of getting them paired up and getting them. And our advisory picks who's accepted or not. We don't do that as staff, so the advisory do that. So I think that was a wonderful way. Here is another one. It's the professional development that we have quarterly for the Mi'kmaq teachers. Okay, why did mine go? Okay. So it's a professional development for all Mi'kmaq teachers, and this happens quarterly. This workshop was taught by Michael R. and his brother Sulian. This was a learning-centered method. So this was very interactive. The participants, the lessons of what type of tree had to be used, how to actually complete a jigamahan. And in these sessions, they were taught in Mi'kmaq, and a lot of networking was happening during these sessions. So when each person went up to make their jigamahan, the teachers would be talking of how they're going to teach this in their grades, how they can take their kids into the woods to outdoor education to pick the proper tree to do the jigamahan. So that was and that's Michael R. teaching. I said, he's awesome. We wish we could clone him, but we can't. And I only have 10 minutes, so. And here we had the team kind of separated from the organization. We moved to Escazone. We were kind of sad first time, oh, we're leaving the group. But then when we moved to Escazone, so it was a great thing because we all spoke Mi'kmaq all day long. So it was all Mi'kmaq every day. And we felt like we didn't have to accommodate anybody because we were all First Nation speakers. So it was a lot of fun. So not to say that we don't have fun now, but the Mi'kmaq language, you know, and this was something that the Mi'kmaq language really utilized. So the staff mostly spoke Mi'kmaq, and people came to see, like, okay, here's the Mi'kmaq language department from MK. Nani wetyo MK. Can I come? I've never been to MK. I heard about it, but I've never been there. So people were just coming to our office, but it was the old doctor's office. So there we had on the door, you know, doctor, examining room. So they're all making fun of everybody. Oh, so my office was the doctor's office. I said, I'm not a doctor. And they were saying, oh, go into Giselle's room, examining room 1. So it was like, so they were all making jokes like that. So we had a lot of fun. We did a lot of sharing. We did a lot of cooking. Of course, we did a lot of eating. But it was really a lot of fun. But then we moved back to the other building, and then we felt, okay, we shouldn't change that. So that's what we do. So we're in our little departments, and it was so hard the first week we got to the Sydney office because we're so used to hollering at each other. Giselle, Michael R, below. But we were doing that in the Escasoni office. The Sydney office. I said, oh my God, guys, nobody hears us. We're all hollering. Giselle, nobody hears us. So we had, you can hear me. We hear Giselle. And we really miss her when she's not there. But it just changed, but we said, we don't need to change that. Keep that language going. Why do we have to stop, right? So somebody, I think it was Betty, that came up with an idea to have a language speaking day. I think it's every Friday, yeah, which is really great for the staff. So all the staff can learn no Migma words. Just a little side note, there are no Migma swear words. That is a true fact because the Mi'kmaq language is sacred, and that's how our elders want it to be, is something as sacred. So if you want to swear at somebody, you got to use body parts. So remember that. So if they're swearing at you, they're swearing at your body parts. And this is another idea that Alwyn had during the pandemic. And this was our first annual Mi'kmaq elder engagement. We had elders on Zoom the first 2 days in March, and we gave them a chance. Instead of us asking them questions, we let them speak freely of what they wanted to. So they talked about when they were young, what they used to do when they were young. And I said, it was done virtually. The first day was challenging because we had to teach them how to use Zoom and how to get on the computer. So it got a little glitchy, but we kind of got the hang of it. Our challenge was that to make sure how to use Zoom. The 2 days were filled with sharing stories, legends, and Mi'kmaq games. The elders were given the opportunity to speak and to share in what they wanted to. We as the Mi'kmaq language team had enjoyed their time and their knowledge, and we realized that we have to value this because if you look at the picture, and I gave Miranda the heads up because I said, Miranda, I'm using your mom's picture. Josephine had passed away since then. So every time we have elders in our circles, we lose one. So we really need to utilize them. I know we say it when we bring them into the school, we really need to do that. We as people need to go and visit. We need to go back to that. We need to go visit our elders just to have a cup of tea, or they want us to take out their garbage or whatever. So because that's what the one thing they said, that one of the elder engagements said that nobody visits anybody anymore. So some still do, but one of the major part, that visiting part is over because of technology, they said. So we need to really get back to that. And I think my 10 minutes is almost up, huh? Ooh, I'm going on 20. Miracle. So the Mi'kmaq language have always partnered up with other departments, and I wanted to take Jeanine for this because we did a yoga certification program, and it started virtually, which was great. Then we had to go, then we met in face-to-face, then we went virtually, then we went back face-to-face. So, and the language department had partnered with Jeanine. So this yoga training was really helpful, and we still use it today. I use it with my elders at home, my son who has autism. So I'm not going to go back, but here's my conclusion, thank God. So the Mi'kmaq language culture is unique of our people because of the way we express our ideas, the way we express our customs, and language allows us to express our feelings and our thoughts. And our Mi'kmaq philosophies of life come from our ancestors. They taught us to live in harmony, to live with animals, plants, the spirit world, and the people around us. Elders continue to express their wisdom in ceremonies, celebration, language, arts, religions, and daily life. So the Mi'kmaq language is my first love, and I love it dearly. The Mi'kmaq thought is influenced by my language, and without it, I wouldn't have that Mi'kmaq thought. So I'm saying that being Migma is awesome, and we need to empower our youth and empower our adults and empower anybody we can, because anybody can learn. And it's something that we really need to take seriously, and because we all know the problems of the world, residential school, Indian day school, we all know that. We need to come up with more strategies for your communities and how we can empower our communities to continue to speak the language. Well, audio.
Get the hook.
Oh, I miss John.
Me too.
Who's next? Oh, me?
Yeah.
So you've got the clicker as well.
What's that? Oh,
You can use the clicker to advance the slides.
okay, thanks. Can everybody, I'm taller, so I'm gonna have to hold this, I think. Can everyone hear me okay? Alrighty. So I'm Jeanine Marshall, I'm the new Director of Academic Services. It's been one heck of a month. Just wanted to sort of go through and highlight some of the things, and I'll be a little bit briefer for the simple fact that many of the things have already been talked about. But I think it would be remiss to say that COVID really changed the way that we think about learning, think about engagement, think about partnerships, and how technology can be used to facilitate that. So we had lots of different types of engagement this year, lots of different types of graduation, drive-by. We had posts on telephone poles celebrating our students. And I really want to acknowledge the communities for sort of stepping up and being creative to celebrate these milestones. Because imagine going 12 years in school, some maybe longer, and you look forward to graduation and you can't walk across the stage the way that you would normally think about walking. But our communities really stepped up and made it as fun and engaging as possible. So I think that's an important place to start, that everything that we think about in terms of academics, language, culture, it's really about celebrating every success and every milestone that students are achieving. So in academic services, we have quite a large team. I'm not going to make them stand up. I think I might. No, I'm just kidding. But feel free to reach out to them. These are their areas of expertise. We have Anne and Claire in post-secondary, along with Marcia and Becca, that are leading the RPL, or Recognition of Prior Learning Research. We have Bob and Kyla in math, and we have Brenda and Sheila in literacy. And we have Rebecca leading the work in wellness, and Sheldon in assessment, and Dave and Gloria leading the work in performance measurement and statistics, as well as our newest member, Ambra, in autism. And eventually there will be somebody else in student services, but I'm sort of wearing two hats at the moment. So Michelle sort of touched on some of the partnerships that we focused on this year in academic services, and one of those partnerships with the Mi'kmaq Language Department was the Master Cultural Apprentice program. So here's a screenshot of myself and Michael R. Standing in the pouring rain, blessing our drums in my backyard while teachers from around the province were doing the same thing. So this was a project that we involved many elders from different communities. Michelle and her team were involved, as well as academic services, looking at ways to integrate Mi'kmaq language and culture in the mainstream curriculum, in provincial curriculum. These are provincial teachers that are in public schools, as well as teachers that are in the MK family of schools as well. So these were drums that we made one weekend, one of the few weekends we were able to gather before the world locked up and we were socially distancing and all of that. This was our culminating activity where we blessed our drums that we made after a period of time that they had dried out. And Buffalo was part of that as well. So it's one of those things where when we think of academic services, when we think of interdepartmental work, we think of two worlds coming together. And so for myself, I come from two worlds. I'm Migma and Italian. And so I think in two worlds in two ways all of the time. And this project sort of solidified how those departments can work together and how teachers, non-Indigenous teachers in public schools are really looking for Mi'kmaq ways of knowing and being and how that can be incorporated in the curriculum. They really took a lot out of this program, as well as the elders that participated. They learned how to make jigamahuns with Michael R. I don't know how Michael R.'s hands are functioning, I swear to God. If you've ever hit that ash with a sledgehammer, I feel like it's a sledgehammer. Your hands ache for days. So, like I said, he's masterful at doing these workshops, but they are a lot of work. And, you know, during these weekends, we incorporated mindfulness, yoga, storytelling, of course, lots of food, way too much food, all those sorts of things. So one of the things that we think about is, you know, one of the things that happened a lot this year was how to do things differently and keep things going. So although, you know, our kids had to be socially distanced and masked and virtual and hybrid and back and forth, one week we're in school and we get to be with our friends, the next week we're back behind a screen, is really making those moments that we are present with one another mindful. So here during Hunter's Village, or Hunter's celebration in Bear River, students are making drums and they're engaging with one another. They are sort of socially distanced and following all the rules. And then in other communities, we're able to gather and celebrate different things as well. So I think, you know, just thinking about how the team sort of adapted to all of these things. The beginning of COVID, we were comfortable with certain platforms. As time went on, we became very proficient in about 4, and at times multiple, and nonetheless, elders got to feel kids love and celebrate their accomplishments. As Michelle pointed out, like many other programs and activities in our departments, they sort of yo-yoed and flexed from that hybrid model. And this was around this time last year that we were able to finish off 200 hours of training. I think at this point we have trained, we're probably one of the few family of schools or regions of education that have trained almost 100 teachers in yoga training at this point. We're approaching there. I think we're at about 86. And so, you know, when we think of yoga, when we think of lifelong learning and holistic education and where this sort of model of wellness takes place, it takes place right in the form of reading programs, it takes place in the form of storytelling, you know, where kids are gathered in a circle and they're still socially distancing and being safe and learning about safety, but most importantly, with the help of wellness coordinators and other consultants, they're learning to find their breath and they're learning to be grounded with their environment. And as Ulnu people, being grounded, especially during a time of pandemic, increases our vibration, it increases our brain capacity, and it allows us to connect in different ways. So this was the group that finished last fall in Badek, the latest group. Something's going on with Julian's computer. When we think of how this sort of integration and interdepartmental work can look like, it can look like many things. And here is Kyla sharing some resources for supplemental resources for early math learning, and as well as delivering some PD in person with smaller groups. And when we think about all of the dynamic resources that have flowed this year in mathematics, it really focused on holistic, it really focused on delivering it through technology, through Homework Hub and other platforms as well as personal virtual one-on-one mentoring with our teachers. So math really has sort of taken place in a variety of forms and a variety of platforms. It's happened, as Kyla mentioned, she's mentored in her driveway with another teacher or over the phone via FaceTime, as well as Bob reaching out to teachers virtually and providing intensive PD one-on-one, as well as larger groups. So it's manifested in a lot of different ways in terms of resources, increased resources in the communities and classrooms, as well as partnerships in public schools where kids will actually see a familiar face and have that intensive one-on-one support in mathematics. It's also manifested itself in looking at holistic programming by having events like this, where we had our virtual Mawiomi. And I always like to share, we jokingly call her our MK baby, but when we think of how tremendous our students are and their potential, this little one has been around all of us for a very long time, and she is so proud of her culture and her language. She's also reading, probably 2 grades above reading level. So, when we think about how we ground our students and we support them, that holistic model is something that we're sort of shifting gears towards and striving for in academic services, and celebrating all of these milestones. I had to share this picture. Sugar told me that if I didn't share this picture, that she would forever kick my butt at Waltis. And I said, well, I'm still going to share it anyways. You're always going to beat me at Waltis because you cheat. And or she changes the rules as I'm starting to get better. But more often than not, she constantly outwits me. So this was one of our provincial teachers that was part of the Master Cultural Apprentice program that like myself, got schooled in Waltes by Sugar, and lost badly. When we think of holistic wellness, we think of ways in which our wellness consultant, as well as our intern that is joining us from Dalhousie, looking at programming from evidence-based practices and how those evidence-based practices can be incorporated in Migma schools through pilot projects and things like that. And here's Rebecca during one of her trainings. I think this was probably towards the end of COVID or just before a lockdown happened. I can't remember the timing of it. But she was able to successfully complete this training along with many others. And I think that's an important point to highlight, that many of our consultants take on enhanced work and training, as well as furthering their studies. Anne's probably going to talk about this a little bit, but I think it's important to highlight having our ECEs. One of our first cohorts of ECEs graduate and now entering into the workforce with training and skills that deliver holistic programming and early learning curriculum in a unique and fun way. This group had a lot of fun. They had a very unique graduation, and I'm sure Anne's going to elaborate a bit more on it as well. I'm frozen, Julian. This one? Thanks.
No, you're frozen.
Right? Okay.
It's not the last slide, is it?
No, I don't think so.
It's the last slide.
Is it? Okay. Not all of it shared. Fair enough. So we'll leave that there just for a second. The other thing just a few things to highlight in terms of literacy and assessment. I'm just going to pop back for a second. A few things to highlight in terms of literacy and assessment. This, in terms of literacy, our consultants really focused a lot this year on having resources in the classroom and in schools that allowed students to see themselves in the curriculum. So with the help of the work of Sheila and Brenda, they're really helping to build classroom libraries to make sure that they have tools of assessment like Fontes and Pinnell and reading programs like that, as well as building Indigenous content in the upper junior high and high school areas, as well as reaching out to other partners to look at the feasibility of supporting community libraries so that people can sort of check out resources and things like that within the community. And again, most of this was done through a virtual hybrid model. And last but, or second to last, but certainly not least, is the assessment that is underway and has been underway, the process for developing our own standards of a reading assessment and what that looks like by having Indigenous-led discussions and focus questions on literature and research within there. So we're hoping that that will come to a close this year, at least one phase. And it'll probably be one of the, a trailblazing activity in terms of looking at how Indigenous-led education can actually develop their own assessment tools. Along with that, this was the first year that MK did their own research in looking at what an inclusive model looks like from a Migma perspective, and looking at high-cost special education. And it was quite an intense few months of research with myself and my research partner, Catherine Rahe, looking at the gaps in high-cost special ed and what a fully dynamic, diverse, inclusive program looks like. And the last part, which Dave is going to elaborate on as well, but you know, without performance measurement through all of these activities and having the data, it really helps to solidify the story that we're sharing and solidify the success stories that we're able to tell about holistic, inclusive programming. So Dave is going to elaborate a bit more on some of the activities that they've shared. But like I said, it's been an intense month from just looking at one program to 11. So, Walalio.
All right, up next we have Loretta. That one is it, okay?
Okay, thank you, Blair. Strange mic. Anyways, yeah, I wanted to say it's really nice to be here all together. It's been a while, and it's nice to see faces, so many faces. And I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you here and everybody on Zoom. And my presentation is going to focus on the audit for the 2021 fiscal year. It's difficult to make numbers exciting. It's not like you're in the classroom or you get out of the office and you do all these nice things with all these wonderful students. I don't know how to make it interesting. I keep thinking about it. Sometimes I think maybe I can, next year I may add some little legs to my numbers and have them walk all over the page or something. But anyways, here goes nothing, or I should say here goes something. Okay, so, and I guess I'm operating this myself. Okay. Technology is not my forte. Okay, that is the other way. Okay. I have to say though, we had to learn a lot of technology fast over the last 2 years. I mean, that's a positive side of COVID, I think. So basically, this first slide is, pardon me?
I said it's all connected.
I know it's all, anyways, we'll manage. So I present this slide every year, never changes. Basically, in all of the source of revenues that we receive, whether it be grant, contribution, from whatever department, our biggest source of revenue and what really is our, what makes up the core of the organization, the core of our operation is the grant. The educational grant that was negotiated, oh my goodness, I feel old now. But anyways, around 96, 97, 98, that's when we signed the final agreement, but there was a lot leading up to that. But we started back in 97, 98 with a grant of $20-some-odd million, and now here we are in, as of this year, 21, 22, with a grant of roughly $66 million. We started with a staff of almost 10 people, and now we have a staff of, I'd say, close to 50 people. I still don't know the names of some of the new staff. It's going to take a while. It's kind of embarrassing sometimes when you see them in the hallway, but when you're 50. So anyways, so now the grant is $66 million. And of course, the grant, between the grant from ISK and the 10% orange, that's the contribution from ISK, it's 98% of our revenues. And that's been constant, give or take 1 percentage point year over year. Can you bring this down a little bit? Or can I do this here? It looked great on my screen. Doesn't look good on your screen.
I don't know why that's getting cut off.
Okay, we'll manage. Anyways, what this is, it's the grant and contribution. No, that is the grant broken down by expenditure area. So the core expenditure, which is the blue, the big blue, the biggest blue section of the pie, that is our core program. And of that, $49 million of that goes directly to the communities from the grant. So if you look at a grant of $60-some-odd million, with almost $50 million going to the communities, and that's the way it should be. The funding flows to the communities through our quarterly transfer payments. And then after that is the FNSSP, which have $2-some-odd million, and then language and culture, PSC, and other. But the core is basically made up of the transfers to you and made up of the MK $3-some-odd million core operating expenses. And there's provincial tuition in there as well. That's included in that big piece of pie of, I think it's $3-some-odd million as well. Okay, basically what this is if we look at the contributions from ISK, we had a total contribution revenue of over $7 million for last fiscal year. And what's interesting to point out there is if you look at the 25% gray, which is elementary secondary, and you look at the 14% orange slice, which is PSC, and then you look at the section elementary, secondary, PSC, and capital, PSC, and elementary, secondary. Sorry about that. The 3 pieces of pie on your left. That's how much, so that tells you that over 40-some-odd% of those contribution revenue were related to COVID. So there was a huge capital contribution of, I think it was around $1.8, $1.7 million for elementary, secondary, and there was another one of around 1.1, 1.2 for post-secondary, and then The one for capital, the communities that submitted several proposals to ISC and got funding to upgrade their facilities to ensure a secure environment for the students to learn during the COVID times. So here what you see is when I referred earlier at the transfers to the community that are done electronically for $49 million. This is a breakdown, community by community. Sorry, Blair. This one going in. Community by community, showing who is receiving what funding. The blue line is the grant funding that you receive directly. The orange part of each line, where there is orange, that is the provincial tuition that MK's pays out on behalf of the communities. So the orange part does not flow to the communities. We pay that out directly at MK through the provincial education agreement that we have. The blue section, you get that on a quarterly basis through your grant transfers from MK. We had received a request several years ago. The communities who have a lot of students in the provincial school system wanted to see exactly how much we paid on their behalf for provincial tuition. So I've included the amounts there. And if anybody's interested in getting those numbers or any part of that presentation, just let me know and I'll be more than happy to share it with you. Whoops. Oh, okay, come back. Okay.
The presentation got interesting.
Yeah.
Some cool effects, Lorena.
I don't know what I'm doing. Just
Press it again. One more time.
okay. Thank you. I've included some things in there. I was trying to add some effects, and I guess I must have left them there. It did. Oh my, sorry. Okay, administration governance, basically that's the operating budget of MK, and the blue line is the budget, and the orange line is the actual, and no surprise that salary and benefits is the largest segment and the largest expenditure of the organization. It is exactly the same for any school boards. Actually, in a lot of school boards, the education expenses are roughly 80 somewhat % of expenditures because, and then the next one is the travel and honorarium for the board, and then professional fees, and then other. Those are the main one. Yeah, so that's just that at a glimpse. We have, within our budgets, we have deferred a lot of money because of COVID. Staff travel was drastically down last fiscal year. And we were able to have more meetings, and we did end up saving on board of directors meetings because a lot of the meetings were Zoom meetings, and as such we didn't have to pay travel expenses. Okay, this is my last slide. It's a new slide. What that is, it's showing how much money we deferred from last fiscal year to the current fiscal year, and a lot of it, and it's actually $7.1 million that we deferred. Last year we deferred a little over $6 million, so we deferred roughly $1 million more in 2021 than what we did in 1920. And again, it's COVID. But you see how much of the grant that we deferred, and then you see the contribution. What is a concern is we shouldn't be deferring contribution because contribution is supposed to be spent the year that you receive the funds. But again, because of COVID, we've had to defer a lot of funding. But going into this fiscal year and future fiscal years, COVID has been in place now for long. It's been in place for the 4th year, 3.5, 4 years now for COVID. So I'm sure the governments are expecting by now, whether it be the federal or provincial government, that, okay, you don't want this to become an excuse. There's new ways, and like Jeanine was talking earlier in her presentation, and we have to find new ways of doing business. and still meet the needs of our students and our schools and our communities. So that, I don't know if there's any questions, but I'm going to move. Is there any questions on the deferred revenues or any of the slides I've showed so far? Okay. Finally, this was supposed to be a big boom. But it didn't happen because it really was supposed to be. Because I want to thank my staff. None of this would be possible without the team, without my finance team. They all bring skills and experience that really complement one another. And I really feel that at this point we have a really well-rounded finance team. And we've done great things over the last year. One of the largest achievements, I would say, that we've implemented is the change in our accounting systems. We went to a computer-based system, which was simply, or Sage, to NetSuite, Oracle NetSuite, which is a cloud-based system that I know will be able to accommodate MK for many, many years to come. We've grown so much over the years that, you know, the financial statements, the way we had, the reporting structure that we had, really no longer met the need of the organizations, and we couldn't portray the financial information in a way that was as informative for the board of directors and management. So now with the new system, it came live, and that was a huge challenge because the system came live February 1st. Hey, Jillian, I think? February 1st. And if there's anybody here from finance, they'll understand this. The year end was March 31st. So 11 months of the fiscal year was in an old system, with 1 month being in the new Oracle NetSuite system, cloud-based. So we had 2 systems to deal with, and I can tell you there was a lot of sleepless night for Jillian and Michelle. I saw emails in really strange hours. But they've done it. The audit was done on time, and with the help of Chantella and Jennifer helping out, we were able to meet our needs. And we will grow with our system, and we're growing as an organization. Each time there's an employee that comes on board, there's a whole brand new set of accounts and segmentation that comes on board. So there's a lot there. So thank you to all, and Jillian, I think, was introduced earlier by Blair, and Jillian's position is the financial reporting manager for MK. And a big thank you for everyone. Safe drive back. Thank you.
Just a little fix in the roster there. I'm going to switch Anne to go before Dave and Gloria, but Dave and Gloria will go right after Anne.
Thank you, Dave and Gloria, for accommodating my request. Okay, mabigida wisto. I will not keep you long. So I just have pictures, really. So I wanted to acknowledge that this has been a really hard year. I think it's been a hard year for communities and individuals and organizations. And I want to acknowledge the hard times that people have had, surviving the pandemic, surviving loss in their communities. And so it hasn't been a typical year. And I want to acknowledge that to communities with love and respect. So everybody talked about our ACE graduates. So we did the graduation here last year. I think it was just after our AGA, or I don't know, before. So we graduated 13 ECE graduates from we had a lot of the communities represented, all the way from Yarmouth to Membertou. Acadia is gay to Membertou. And some of the individuals here, we gifted them with quilts. We had, there's a Abijig in Escazoni made quilts. So we contracted the quilts to be made, and they were very much made with love and good wishes, and those were presented to our graduates. We could have gave them like $500, but we're like, quilts are much nicer. And some of these individuals went on to do their child and youth study degree at Mount St. Vincent. And some went on, I don't know if it's this group or the WA Medical group, and some went on to do their BEd at UNB. Because there's a program at UNB, Bachelor of Education in Early Childhood, and all you need is your 2-year diploma. So kudos to them. And so they were presented with, these are some of the graduations that I attended. Again, this is this year, and it always freaks me up. Like, what year are we reporting on? I still haven't figured it out 10 years in. So some things that happened, St. FX finally opened their Migma Student Center. We have some powerhouse family here from Boston-Cook. That's me. We gave out, this was the best part. I got to do this every year. I drove around Nova Scotia, no lie, handing out checks to people. And so some of the communities were like, yeah, just meet up with Aunt Sillaboy. And they're like, I'm busy. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm giving them money. They should make themselves available. And so and then they'd be like, yeah, you're right, Ann. And so they'd be like, let's make them available. Let's make ourselves available. And so I would, and some of them had no clue. So I felt like Oprah, except I'm poor and I'm not black. So I was like, here's 2,500 or 1,250 or 2,500 divided by 3. I don't know what that number is. But anyways, it was fun. So we presented scholarships to all communities except one where I'm still waiting on the name. Yeah. But anyways, so it was fun, and it was a partnership with Period A and KMKNO. So they were so gracious and grateful for the check. So those are just some of our students. Again, that was at the gas bar. They were just like, she's like, I'm working. I'm like, it'll take you a minute. So they were super grateful. And some here with Goose Cup. So it was a little different this year. We usually do a bunch of camps. Again, looking at employment and careering. So this year, we weren't allowed to do camps, or I don't know. So we didn't call this a camp. We called it a course that they slipped over. And so it was the Marine Emergency Duties, Domestic Vessel, what's the S for? Oh, I don't even know. Anyway, so it's a Marine duty, so high school students, safety, domestic vessel safety. So they took the course, and that will get them on boats, like, I don't know, so many kilometers inland from, they can't go on like the big shipping containers. So they, just some pictures, they donned like the fire suit, they got in the water, and we had Terry he's from Escazoni, but he's from Budlita now. He did a workshop for the kids. It was a beautiful evening. And here they are in the pool. I don't know what they're doing there. They're shooting they're shooting like an emergency flare at each other. No. And this was one of the best parts. They have a simulator at the Marine campus, so they're simulating like going through a canal or something like that. So, and here they are donning their life suits or whatever they're called. And they were putting out fires on like the world's hottest day. I went to go buy them ice cream, which melted instantly. So And here they are. I think they're doing a bonfire here. I think that's them, but they look small. I don't know where that picture's from. And here's Maya. I had to include her. And then another camp we did, which wasn't an overnight, and it was just a community camp, was the one in Sebeganegadi. So we did a carpentry camp. And so we often talk about tuwaitsi and edwaptimum and what that means and what that looks like, right? So really kind of an experiment in edwaptimum is here we are doing typical carpentry things, measuring, cutting, drill pressing, sawing, chop sawing. But at the same time, it's looking at providing houses for bees, and not honeybees, but bees native to Nova Scotia that are very endangered, and they need these kind of protective houses. So that's what we made. And so currently our house, because my son is in our garage, but I will put it out there for the poor native bees so they survive the winter. I don't know, I'm not sure of the process, but the kids were super engaged, and it was so much fun. It was a hot time. And but Sebeganegadi was very gracious in hosting us in their school. And like of all times, the air conditioning broke or was breaking down. And George Dennis came and he's like, I should make a job. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so hot, George. Can you leave it on? It's already leaked through the ceiling, right? But no, he shut it off. So there's my son on, I don't know, some kind of saw. And his little one, it was fun. And here they are with their bee houses. So you take those boards out and you clean them after kind of the season, and then you can reuse them. And what the bees do is they lay their little eggs in there. So, that's it. Oh, okay. So I asked permission before I tell this joke, and I was granted permission. It's not my joke, but it's an old Esky joke, because Michelle mentioned body parts. So back in the day, when I was in elementary, we used to have this teacher called Ms. Dunn, D-U-N-N. And I was a very sheltered child. So the first time I didn't catch it. So I'd be like, Miss, and they'd be like, Minahajuido. And I'd be like, Minahajuida, Maho, Minahajuida. Like, call her by her full name. And the other students would tell me. So I'd be like, okay, Miss Dunn. And everybody would laugh, and I'd be like, roll my eyes at them, and like these res kids, like, oh my God, I'm too mature for this. So, kind of forgot about that. So fast forward, like, I don't know, I think it was an MK. I don't know whose joke this is. I think this is Liz's joke, or somebody anyways, but it's an Eskasoni joke. So there was a Ms. Dunn, D-U-N-N. And so Ms. Dunn taught at the elementary school for a long time with substitute. And so Ms. Dunn, like a lot of women, had children. And like a lot of teachers, her children also became educators because they want to educate children. So Ms. Dunn's daughter graduates and is entering the teaching profession. She wants to teach, and she loves children, and she wants to teach. And so she's getting ready to go out, and it just so happens her first gig is in Eskasoni because Ms. Dunn has a good relationship with Eskasoni School Board. So they're like, yeah, of course we'll hire your daughter. You know, teaching is genetic. So as Ms. Dunn's daughter is going out, you know, she's excited, she's got her planner, she's ready to teach these kids. Her mom tells her, whatever you do, don't let them call you Miss Dunn, Cheech.
my God, Anna's hilarious. P.S. She didn't ask for permission. She said, I'm going to tell this joke. I said, what joke?
Yeah. Hello. Let's have a look. Yeah, I know. Unless I can talk loud enough. I don't know. Anyway, as I did this, oh geez, I guess I got a carrot. As I did this presentation, I didn't know what else anybody else was saying. And as I listened to everybody else, I seemed to hit the same theme. And one of the things I've learned over the last 2 years is this. It's very important for us to understand what our children have gone through. Very important, because we won't learn anything if we don't listen to them. We have done a fairly good job of doing that. We're not perfect. Nobody's been perfect in this pandemic. Let's put it that way. But I'll tell you what, we've done a very good job in getting technology to our children, getting our staff better equipped with the technology and things like that. So when I look at this statement and I started to think about it and I go, how does that relate to us? Well, we're going to go on the MKSIS experience. Because through this pandemic, we have made a lot of changes. We've made a lot of things look different and we were listening to our communities, our teachers, and those who needed to be heard. First thing, we have our own logo for the MKSIS. It was the first start of rebranding outcomes, which was a third-party vendor, and now we're taking ownership of it. So that's our new, and it was developed by one of our students in Escazone. We added just the map in the back, just to include all our communities. So we do our basic things like respond to federal and provincial reporting levels. You know, we've worked on capacities with our communities to create mentors for MKSIS and information development. Performance measurement is now not only into the development of MKSIS, we're into understanding the information, how to help our communities understand the information. That's the key piece. So last year we started our rebranding, and you want to bring up that one. This is our new website, or our new front page to MKSIS. It's a starting point. As the years go by, we'll start to improve it. But we are bringing the language to our information and our information system. So we'll go back to the other one. Yeah, where am I? Okay, that's it. We've made some new changes in response to what's happening within the pandemic, an online registration for new students, or even updating our old students by the parents. We have updated, we have a COVID-19 response page. In other words, parents can log in for each student or each child they have. They can tell us whether they have symptoms or not, and we can respond to it. They can get a response. We have an internal and external message board now where our systems now can communicate to all users or just users within a particular community. Our nominal roll hasn't changed over the last 3 years. I think we're up 0.5%, 6 students or something like that. Not very many. It's starting to stabilize at that number. About 2950 is what the average is about, somewhere in there. So I'm sure Loretta will like that. Consistent revenue streams. And all communities will like that. Consistent revenue streams. Our age grade. This is telling us what about our students. In K4, you know, we're starting to see an average age grade. We started at 3, 5. We're now starting to settle out a little better at the appropriate age for that grade. Graduation rates, 87.7 last year. Province can't even come close to that. So, I mean, we're doing something right. This year we had 9 less students enrolled during a pandemic year. That's pretty good, considering what we went through. Our graduates from last year to previous year, we're down 4. Okay. We're still consistent. We're about 1/4, or a little less than 1/4. This year we had no provincial assessments. One of our key indicators is assessment. We did not have them because the province didn't run them. Also, we did not have an attendance rate this year. Each community had so many ways of doing different things. It was hard to create a single number for MK. If you want to see a number for a community, come see me, I can get that. But we could not produce one for MK. The inconsistencies wouldn't make it a valid number. It's pretty simple. Looking forward, hopefully we'll do our assessments. We're in the 3rd year or 2nd year. Is it the 2nd year or 3rd year now? 2nd year of our strategic plan. You know, we're looking forward to increasing the power of information and technology with students, teachers, administrators, communities. Okay? That's pretty simple this year. I'm usually here rambling forever. So if there's any questions or questions that I can answer, maybe. If not, I want to leave you one last thing. The pandemic has been a great teacher. We have to remember we learned a lot of lessons and a lot of good things have happened. So we can't always look at the negative of that pandemic. We got to look at the positive too. And we've done things that we were forced to do. We learned a lot, and guess what? We're better for it. So that's all we have to learn from that. Thank you.
Is Ellen online? Yeah. All right, we'll just switch it to text.
Okay, he's here. He's in the room, so we can do that.
We can do Alan? All right, I'm going to welcome next Alan. Alan is unable to join us in person this year because he just became a brand new daddy to a little baby boy, Archie. So I think he's very fresh, single digits days old, and mom and baby are doing very well. And hey, Alan.
Can you hear me?
We'll just do a sound check.
Can you hear me?
Not really. Ooh.
Just bring that with
It's full of wires. How is it wireless? All right. I'm going to try it again, Alan.
Okay. Hello, testing. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, so I'll go over some of the highlights from the 2020-21 year from the help desk. Okay, so just starting with our network team. So over the past year, and I should mention that as some of you likely know, we, in addition to MK schools, the help desk also provides connectivity and other services to other Atlantic First Nation schools, as well as daycares and health centers, treatment centers, and so on. So towards the end of this past fiscal year, we did renegotiate negotiate a new network speed upgrade, which was a significant upgrade to all of our sites. And this was in response to the continually increasing demands on our network, and for as we put more and more technology into our schools and health centers and so on, the demands of course increase, and we're trying to keep up with that as much as possible. This speed upgrade saw all of our communities receive an upgrade to at least 200 megabits per second. All of MK communities, there is one community in Northern Labrador that we're still working on bringing them to that same level. And just to give you an idea of where that number puts us, each community received an upgrade of at least, their speeds have at least doubled, and in some cases increased by a factor of 7 over the past year. So that's thanks very much to our hardworking network team for working on that. In terms of expansion, we have there's 72 facilities across Atlantic Canada's 32 First Nation communities that are part of the Atlantic First Nation fiber network. 23 of those are schools, 28 are health centers. Over the past year, we connected two new health centers, one in Fort Folly Health Center and the Tobic Treatment Center. As well, we're in the planning stages of well, I guess technically these schools have either opened or are very close to opening in Elsipogtog and Buckenkeg, but those two schools will be joining the fiber network, and those so that number will be approaching, I would say, closer to 80 by the end of this fiscal, as well as 2 treatment centers. So on to technology integration. So we're very fortunate to have what used to be, I was responsible for most of the technology integration, or leading and facilitating those. We're very lucky to have that team grown to a size of 3 now. So we have Kim and James with our tech integration consultants in elementary, secondary, as well as Julian, who's our multimedia support coordinator. Some of the ways they work together, they're reestablishing the technology integration lead team, which involves one representative from each school to kind of lead and work with the tech integration team on rolling out and maintaining, I guess, and ensuring that our technology is being used as efficiently as possible, and continually innovating. Another initiative that we Kim and I started a few years ago, pre-COVID, I guess you'd say, was the technology integration monthly newsletter, and they worked together to kind of resurrect that and get that up and running again, as well as they've all worked very hard to provided some much necessary updates to the technology tech integration resources Google site, which can be found at resources.gnu.ca if you're interested. More specifically about, I'm not going to read everything on this slide. This is kind of gives you a snapshot of what Kim has been up to for the past year. Seesaw for Schools is a very large part of what she does and leads, and it was even more integral during COVID times when teachers could not be face to face on a daily basis with their students. She's also working on an incentive program, basically that encourages teachers to do various things tech integration related in the classroom, and they receive technology investments for their classroom, kind of as a small reward. There's a bit of a new initiative that she's rolling out right now, involving 2 certifications: Seesaw Pioneer and Apple Teacher Certification. So looking forward to seeing where that brings us. As well, over the past year, she coordinated 2 Apple Learning Series, one called Digital Storytelling and one Digital Project Planning. 5 schools were involved over the course of several months on that program. and of course her regular day-to-day coaching and professional development is kind of on demand and at request, and kind of some related to Seesaw and lots of other things she's working on. So and we'll move on to James is our tech integration consultant for 5 to 12. I will point out that where he joined us, he's done lots of additional things since the end of fiscal year 2020-2021, but this kind of he joined us in February, and we're very lucky to have him. He rolled out a program that I just didn't have the capacity to do well. Nelson's Edwin, which is a digital learning platform. 80% of our schools are participating in that. And I already mentioned the Tech Integration Monthly Newsletter and the Tech Integration Lead Team, which he's a big part of. And his regular, more day-to-day supporting teachers in all subject areas from grades 5 to 12. And as well, he's making a concerted effort to provide some dedicated training to assistive technology, because we all know that's a big, certainly a big need in all of our schools. And technology standards and multimedia support, that's Julian Strassfeld. A good portion of what he does is the Technology Standards Project, which some of you are familiar with. So that began towards the end of last fiscal. We were fortunate enough to begin piloting that. There's 3 communities part of that pilot. He also refined 6 self-assessment tools and 7 resources, and hosted 2 advisory meetings. So we're at some point in the latter part of this fiscal, we'll be launching it with all communities. So we're looking forward to that. If you need more information on that, feel free to reach out to Julian. And over and above the Tech Standards Project, Julian is involved in various other projects, supporting 2 live streams throughout the past year. And I guess the live stream you're listening to right now is thanks to Julian and Alex and JR's hard work. Also, we're hard looking at purchasing various equipment for schools based on their needs and kind of projects they'd like to work on, shooting various videos, and also we've been investing in some video production equipment so that MK can do a lot of things in-house, like what we're doing right now with this live stream. Mobile device management, so that's that would be the remote management of our Apple products and our Chromebooks. So right at the moment, at the end of last fiscal, we had close to 4,000 devices being remotely managed. Not all by MK. It's facilitated by MK, but a lot of our communities, some of our communities have people in their at the schools that do a lot of the configurations themselves, which is great. But we certainly are willing to do for all schools, and that would be mostly Faye Gugu's work. So thanks to her for that. That number, I think it's 4,000. I think we hit 1,000 2 years ago. So it's certainly grown, and she's gotten a lot more efficient at her work to be able to manage all that for us. So thanks for that. Video conferencing is more of a telehealth, but again, telehealth is an important part of what the help desk does. So I did want to mention it. So over the past year, we've transitioned to using Zoom for healthcare. The platform that we were working with before just wasn't meeting the needs of our health centers and treatment centers. I think that the need to meet virtually was certainly at its high during the pandemic, and so we're still in the transition process. As most of you know, Zoom is probably one of the most widely used platforms, more user friendly, but we also didn't want to give up the high level of security and that we had previously, and we didn't have to, which is great. And I think another important factor was the video conferencing equipment that we do have in communities right now. Zoom is compatible with all that equipment, which is important because that was a large investment, and we can continue to use that equipment for years to come. Another project as part of the help desk is called the First Nation Inuit Skills Link program. It's an employment program for community members 15 to 30. It's over the past year, we employed 15 youth in 6 of our communities. It's a great way for youth to gain experience, and it's looking more long term. It's a great way to build capacity. Hopefully, some of the youth that work under this program will then come to work for MK and or the help desk at some point. So it's kind of mutually beneficial in that way. And I'm just noticing okay, so yeah, so the last slide there. Just wanted to thank the help desk team, which has grown quite a bit over the last year. We have you see the names on the screen. I don't need to read them all. Kim and James, that was kind of Kim is not brand new to MK. She just came over from the academic services team during last fiscal. James joined, as I mentioned, our team in February. Alex joined the team in March. So, and Julian, I think the previous April. So thank you very much to the team. And I guess that's, and I guess I should, as Blair mentioned, I was fortunate to become a father over the weekend. So I just thought I'd share a picture of little Archie that was taken the day after he was born. So hopefully next year we'll be able to be there in person if my wife will allow me to travel by then. Okay. Thank you.
He is so cute. What's going to be his first piece of technology, Alan? Just wondering.
Oh, probably an iPad, I would say.
iPad. Oh, I need to bring this up. Yep, we have Tex up next, and then Jacqueline, and then we'll do, we'll need a motion to adjourn, and then we'll do our closing prayer.
Okay, well, on in Blair. Don't worry, I'll be very brief. This suit is a rental and I gotta get it back soon. It works. So this is a 1/4 of my presentation, which Blair already did, introducing my team. So, but I'll go through again a little bit. So I'm Tex Marshall, and I am the manager of Migma Sport at MK. And we have Terry Bernard, who is the Migma Community Sport Liaison. I always have trouble saying that word liaison. Is it liaison or liaison or whichever it is? Anyway, that's Terry. Of course, we have Mr. Levi Denny, who's our Migma Sport Performance Coordinator. And then we have our 2 new ladies, who are Jeanine Denny, who is the SSDIC Coordinator for Bottonkeg East, and of course Jasmine Collins, who's the SSDIC Coordinator, Pictou Landing West. So the acronym SSDIC simply is Sport for Social Development in Indigenous Communities, and is funded by Sport Canada in that SSDIC Stream 1. So I'm obligated to do that, to here in this forum thank and acknowledge Sport Canada for funding that project. So anyway, it's real refreshing for me to know and to see that we have such a great team in Sport and Rec now. There's 5 of us working diligently to create and establish opportunities for our youth, which I feel is such an important aspect of not only education, but just the future of our youth. So I'm very pleased and proud of the team we have, and it's such a pleasure to work with those fine folks that are part of the team. So I wanted to focus a little bit on the MK Symposium that we have each year prior to March break, and a little bit about the constructive feedback we receive from the participants. For those of you who don't know, MK has a symposium prior to March break, and it's usually held in this room actually, and it's an opportunity for the communities to come together and discuss our educational needs, shortcomings, what are we doing right, what can we do better. It's a very productive exercise that guides us as staff. So, and I wanted you all to know that I take very seriously the feedback we receive at that event, because after all, we want education, and in particular sport and rec in our case, to be the vision of what you foresee your community having. What kind of opportunities, events, initiatives do you need, you feel are good for your community? So one of the things that stood out for me obviously so much was the constant ask and inquiries about more opportunities for females or girls. So something we took very seriously. Also looking at greater collaboration with the MPALs. As you know, the MPALs are in most of our communities, and they are the vehicle for sport, physical activity, recreation delivery within our Mi'kmaq community. So it's important to foster greater collaboration with them. And also tackling, or at least looking at and examining coaching issues within our Mi'kmaq community, because that is one of the most underdeveloped, underutilized resource that we have, the human resource of coaches. We do not have a lot of coaches who are actively coaching within our communities or within the larger community. So we focused on that, and so looking at more opportunities for females, and through our team meetings and discussions, and Jasmine and Jeanine came up with this wonderful idea initiative that we were going to have a female or girls sport leadership camp at Keji National Park, which happened in September. I had the great opportunity to go there, and the weekend started off with a talking circle, of which I was a part of, and it was such an empowering and enlightening experience to see our girls just find themselves. So it was a fantastic event. I don't think I've ever been to Keji National Park before in my life. So it's a very beautiful area. It's a really nice and rich part of our territory. So it was an honor for me to be there for the beginning. So I just wanted to share some photos that we have during the camp. So there we would see some girls, ladies, putting together the tents. I think that's Frisbee maybe. You can correct me if I'm wrong. So it's just empowering to see our females get involved in such a fantastic opportunity and event that they had at Keji. So there's some more pictures there. So we were very fortunate to have Beverly or Bublo teach them the Gojwa, which is one of our most traditional parts of our culture. We've been doing the Gojwa since there's been Migma in our territory. So, and Beverly has such a fantastic and unique way to teach the Gojwa. It's a sidebar. Beverly is pretty amazing, because when we went to Montreal for the bid for the North American Indigenous Games, she was able to get G. Gepton and Chief Norman and Mayor Mike Savage of Halifax to all do the Gojwa. So that's pretty amazing when he can do that. So, well, I'll thank Beverly for spending time with our girls and teaching them the Gojwa. It was so empowering and fantastic, I'm sure. So here we have some more photos of the girls at camp. It was an amazing experience, and we definitely plan to do more in the future, more of these types of events. So here they are at the water, and actually on the water paddling. And as we all know, paddling and canoes is such a great part of our history that that's really needs to be fostered a little bit more with our youth, I think. When I think about our summer games and over the years, and I've always made it a point to go to the canoe races. But one of the things that saddened me in the past is that most of the time I go to the canoe race and it's all adults, which is a great thing, but we need to engage our youth a little bit more in that part of our history and culture. So this again was a great opportunity to enrich the girls with that aspect. So, and of course here, I just titled the slide Camp Freedom. Just such an amazing group picture of an amazing group of individuals that all they needed was a little bit of opportunity to find themselves, to find a little bit more about who they really are, identity, being Migma, being Onu. So it was such a great event, and once again I want to thank our staff. Michael R. came and did presentations, of course Beverly. Becky came and did yoga with them and wellness, and of course Shara was involved greatly. And of course our leaders, Jasmine and Jeanine. I just want to thank you all so much for putting on such an amazing event for our girls. And hopefully we will have more in the future. So just looking at partnerships, again, just talking about the MPALs and our staff having partnerships with them, because working together with MPALs creates more opportunities in collaboration and ways and means. You know, just the MPALs are the stewards for, like I said before, physical activity and sport and rec in our community. So it's really important for us to collaborate and partner with them and be conscious of it a lot more. Just being cognizant of the fact that they're a communication network. We put on events and activities. It serves no good if no one shows up. So we rely on the MPALs to reach into their communities, to seek out and recruit participants, to get involved with the events that we put on. So, so that's very important, that collaboration. So we have a great partnership with Sport Nova Scotia also. Just a side note, the CEO of Sport Nova Scotia is Jamie Ferguson, who of course is from Cape Breton, and Jamie and I grew up playing hockey together in Cape Breton, so there's a really kind of a lucky connection there. He's also a member of our NAIG board too, which is a critical piece. So through our partnership with Sport Nova Scotia, we've established the first ever Indigenous and African Nova Scotia coach mentorship program. It's the first of its kind in the country. It's a 2-year program, and we have our Mi'kmaq coaches involved with that, where they're involved with training, certification, mentorship, mentoring under professional coaches, and basically building their own network throughout the province with coaches from all over. So that's a really significant program that's going to work and is working for us. So they're receiving training, like I said, and just building the network of coaches. So the other partnership I wanted to talk about with Sport Nova Scotia is a provincial sport organization. So an example would be basketball Nova Scotia, hockey Nova Scotia, whichever sport. So through Levi's program, he's been building a great partnership with PSOs. And that's important going forward with our NAIG team, because the PSOs are involved in high performance programming through the Canada Games performance programs. So what we're basically doing is kind of mirroring that initiative, where they have Canada Games performance programs. Now they're going to have NAIG Games performance programs through the PSOs. So just important partnerships and initiatives that we're building on in the future. So, looking at Canadian Sports Centre Atlantic, for those of you that don't know, Canadian Sports Centre Atlantic is located over in Clayton Park, the Canada Games Centre. And what that organization does is basically train Olympians. So anybody within Atlantic Canada or in our area that makes the Olympic team trains there. They get trained, they get tested, they do all sorts of programming there. Or maybe not necessarily Olympian, but nationally carded athletes. So nationally carded athletes are usually ones that are considered for the Olympic teams. So Sports Centre Atlantic, in the photo, gentleman in the middle standing between myself and Levi is Ken Bagnall, who I've also known for a number of years. Another great lucky partnership there, or lucky friendship that I have. But maybe it's not luck. I think it's just, it was meant to be. So Kenny's opened his door to us, and Sports Center Atlantic is not open to the general public. It's a high-performance institute, like I said, for Olympians and nationally carded athletes. So our NAIG athletes will be doing training there. So the training will include testing every 6 months. So that's a part of high-performance training and performance, is being tested on your physical abilities and stamina and all the elements that are required to succeed in high-performance sport. They'll also do training on nutrition, even social media training, sport literacy. So all the elements that are required for high-performance athletes, are becoming a part of our NAIG team. So that's an important partnership that I'm very proud of, and again, that's part of Levi's program. So anyway, that's some of the things that I want to talk about, wanted to talk about today, and basically update on the fact that we are listening. When you give us feedback and direction and vision at MK Symposium, we are listening, and we're trying to make it better and make more opportunities, because it's all about who I like to call our true stakeholders, our youth. To me, are our true stakeholders. So anyway, thank you very much for your attention. And it is Halloween month, so don't be cruel. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks. Up next we have Jacqueline. Alright, I think you have to hold the mic too, Jack.
No. Just push that button to go forward and that one to go back. Okay. Okay, being the last one of the day, we'll make it short and sweet so we can all get out of here. The MOU renewal was last year, October 2020. The beautiful thing about that was it was signed with no end date, so they're not putting a time limit on treaty education's work. Beautiful. The treaty education team has expanded this year. There's myself, the treaty education lead with MK, and I now have a treaty education administration assistant, who is Hope Metallic, as Blair introduced her. We have Director of Treaty Education at OLA, Celeste Solomon, and she hired Policy Analyst Nick Phillips. And then, of course, our partnership with EECD, Migma Services Branch, and then elders, knowledge holders, language experts, community leaders, teachers, and so forth. We're still being driven by the 4 main questions. Our work revolves around who are the Migma historically today, what are treaties, why are they important, what has happened to the relationship, and how are we moving forward in reconciliation. We've been working with EECD on creating resources and information for public schools to help them implement the MOU within their curriculum, and developing different pieces, bringing provincial school and MK school teachers together to collaborate and work on all of those resource pieces. Public schools have received drums, they learned the honors song. We're working on producing a 2nd edition of George Paul's honor song book. They're doing land acknowledgements. If you're looking for more information on that, Melody Martin Gugu at Cobequid School Board has done an excellent presentation on that. She can give more information. There are Mi'kmaq flags being flown at all schools, and then of course recognition of designated days. We have partnered with Inuit. They allowed us to utilize their characters. We developed 7 books to go into the Undile Alhuida book series that support the treaty education framework. And the EECD Mi'kmaq Services Branch has developed a new teacher learning resource to go with it, and that's to be released soon. We worked with teachers in July to finish up that project there. Moving right along. This year we're not hosting PDs with COVID restrictions. It's been really hard to arrange times for teachers. Teachers are busy Substitutes are hard to utilize, so what we've been doing is offering to go to schools. So if anybody's school wants a presentation on treaty education, you can invite us to one of your PD days and we'll happily come and do that. Resources in the works. One thing we're learning is it takes time to produce good resources. So we've been really doing a lot of research, review, and editing. We have a lot of interesting things coming out. We've delivered books and a draft resource to schools for the PETA to Underlay series. We have the high school supplementary resource. We've partnered with Migma de Burton Culture Center. They've developed a new Roots and Reconciliation resource that is going to be expanded into a beautiful online resource, and we look forward to that moving forward. Orange Shirt Day, we worked with Margaret Pullet and her daughter Charlotte. We developed a t-shirt graphic and made that accessible to schools to develop orange shirts for their classes. LSK and Siboneygadik had a beautiful cultural sharing day. They invited a provincial school in. Everybody made Margaret's dolls, and I believe they filmed that, and they're going to send a lot of that to Margaret herself. Public service. So our partners at Office of Ulnu Affairs, they work with the public servants, and they've been doing work, and they have developed a training course, Understanding the Treaty Relationship, development and implementation of that course. They've developed with Two-Eyed Seeing. They have Migma, making sure Migma First Voice. They help facilitate, or at least access facilitation in the Kairos blanket exercise, which of course with COVID has been kind of on hold. And then our partnership relations have been with CCTH, EECD, PSC, Public Libraries, Nova Scotia Public Archives. We're now beginning work on our strategic plan for treaty education, which will give a clearer mandate and work plan for everybody involved. Our Facebook page is very active. They share a lot of information and events that are happening within Mi'kma'ki, and just kind of supporting getting the information and access to resources out there. General public, so community involvement. Treaty Ed is involved, of course, in Treaty Day, October's Mi'kmaq History Month, National Indigenous Peoples Day, Orange Shirt Day, powwows, community sharing, and then the Treaty Education Speakers Bureau. Now that things are starting to open up, we're hoping to do a refresh of the Speakers Bureau, put a call out to people, and those are just a list of names that you can access to have for guest speakers, because we're overutilizing a lot of people for the same things. So we try to keep it as diverse as possible. So it's anywhere from residential school information, cultural information, anything else you might be looking for, things like that. This is one of our speakers. Allow the
Hello there, Jack. Any questions for any of the presentations that were done here this afternoon? See none, hear none. All right, I'll ask Jigepton to come up once more. Do a closing prayer. We'll then request the motion to adjourn. And then. What? You won me in person.
Okay. Illegal door prize. We gotta make sure.
Underlay's the door prize. You can take him.
Mask, Superman mask. All right. Alors, Jeanine, Chandler, c'est discount. Uncle, you love Migma, and there's a canal. You squand a gun, a moody. I can move, milky canodiac, ignomuiac, so the walk on it. I can move, my honorable, and don't give not a small of me. As the Almine, down El Media, Muji Lot, no, I saw Bon Maltino, Tanat Petlovats and the Loti, Nagliach.
I need a motion to adjourn. Mover? Moved by Chief Wilbur, seconder. Jason? All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. Any abstentions? Any opposition? All right, motion carried. Patty, Wilbur, Jason. Go in peace, love and light. And Andrea's selling her earrings.
See, we should have bought a bunch of her earrings. We could use those.
You get called now.